welcome to the official Lakes International Comic Art Festival podcast. My name's Ian.
And my name's Nikki, bringing you the best in comics and graphic novels and updates from the festival.
Welcome to the Lakes International Comic Art Festival podcast, episode 17. My name's Ian.
And I'm Nikki.
And it was your birthday.
It was my 21st.
20 oh, is that? My mum used to say that to me when I was 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13.
Yeah, I can understand this whole... It was my 21st.
Happy 21st.
I'm actually an adult now.
Did I treat you well?
You did.
What did I get you?
You got me nothing. You got me a telescope. It's right behind you, actually.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
In relation to the podcast as well.
Oh, okay. It's just that the telescope is like right behind you and I'm looking at it. I may have got a rather wonderful and beautiful and Pete, I'll love you forever. Original artwork from Pete.
You did.
With my Sylvester McCoy, my favourite Doctor on there, and a penguin dressed as Ace. How cool is that?
If you're a Doctor's nerd, you'll know what that is. If you're not, don't worry about it.
and I was born in a zoo. Don't say anything.
You weren't born in a zoo. I mean, it's believable, but you weren't born in an actual zoo.
I lived in a zoo.
That's more appropriate.
I came home from the hospital in a zoo. No.
You came home in it. What? How the hell? What? The flying zoo is this? What?
The stork actually brought me.
Okay.
So anyway, so it's got giraffes behind it and everything. It's brilliant, and we've got to buy frames.
Mm-hmm.
We need to do this.
3 pieces of work from him and his daughter.
Yes. And also, I may have got an original I have got an original piece of Jonathan Edwards' one from Archipelago.
Mm-hmm.
And it was my favourite one.
Mm-hmm.
And you managed to get it.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, you're broke now, but you managed to get it. So I've got that as well.
And you had a surprise cake.
And my surprise, amazing cake that Kelly did for me. That's the little Kendall cakery. With Totoro on top, and then a TARDIS on the bottom, and a Dalek, and a Dragon Age sword, and my name.
Such a nerd.
And then 21 in like
yes,
like Star Trek. Yeah, I mean, it looked like a 4 and a 0, but I'm sure it said 21.
So yeah,
I've been spoilt basically.
I know.
Yeah,
good me.
I know, you're very good boy. Kept it all very quiet, which is more worrying.
Yes. I was about to make a joke about a woman then, but I'm not going to put it because I'll say something wrong.
And I will have to kick you.
Exactly. We did have bad news, which is why the show last episode
was different.
Was changed from the plan. It's put everything back an episode. What was the sad news? My
little fur baby, my Cloud, who I've had since he was 5 weeks old, he had to have an operation. I couldn't then come on to a podcast recording with you, could I? Because I was helping him after his operation. Yeah. And unfortunately, due to complications from that, a few days later, he did actually have to be put down.
The reason why I want to bring this up is some lovely messages from
absolutely people. Lovely message. I'm going to cry now, don't.
Really nice messages.
Really, really nice messages from people. And yeah, it was nice just to feel that love and thought, people thinking of you, when actually it was one of the worst days of my life, actually. Yeah. Don't
cry.
I know. He was only 7, but yeah.
Right, well, let's...
Thanks.
Sorry. I wasn't expecting you to cry.
Yeah, I'm fine.
The show must go on.
I know.
Come on,
my
darling.
Audience needs me.
Right, let's do some book reviews.
Oh, yes. I'm back. I'm gathered.
We'll leave one of them to the end because you're not in an emotional state to talk about that one right this second. The Girl in the Glim by India Swift and Michael, is it Doig? Do you want to give a little brief overview of the book?
I will. It's about a girl they've moved house and she's starting a new school. And basically it's a horrendous time for her.
It is. It feels like bullying in some sort of sense. Yeah,
it is bullying, isn't it? So, and she gets bullied.
It's hard to say because if we say what goes on, but you've got to sort of say what goes on by the title, even though it's towards the end of the book. Essentially, she meets her friend.
I think that's probably the best way. Well, something...
It's hard to do it without... We never thought this because it is actually hard to explain the story of this book without spoiling kind of the end of the book because it continues. It's going to continue on, obviously.
Yes.
So it is essentially a story about a girl being bullied, but then she meets a magical friend.
I think that, don't say any more than
that. And that's probably all. The title
Yeah.
Which is Girl and the Glim. Sort of says what it's about.
Yeah.
And this is obviously just a set-up book in preparation for the story to continue.
Yes. Well, yes, it can't end how it has.
And it needs to. It needed to be set up in that way. But like you say, the art is...
Oh, it's beautiful. We saw the sketchbooks, didn't we? Because they were at the lake.
Festival, yeah.
The actual working sketchbooks that they had. I mean, quite frankly, I would have taken that home. Because it was gorgeous. And they're lovely, lovely young people.
Youngsters.
So young. But, I mean, the talent in this book, it's almost... I don't know, there's something about it. It feels very
professional.
It does.
And it isn't. Well, no, that sounds right. It is professional, but it's not. It's all in-house.
They published it themselves. It feels like there should be a cartoon running alongside it.
It does in a way. It's got
the
animation style.
Yeah, the artwork of it makes me feel that there should be a cartoon as well. I love it. It was a sweet little book.
If you're not going to see them, I think they're in Ireland.
Are they?
So if you're not going to see it at festivals, go and check out the website. The link's on the show notes. Because I think it's worth buying and supporting these guys.
Oh,
I'd say they are just a young couple, and I think it needs to really be supported because I want to see what goes on with this young girl. Yes.
Yeah, because, I mean, it's awful for her. And she's tried so hard as well, didn't she? And it just all kept going wrong.
Yeah, now go and have a look at that. Next one, Ellerbisms, a sporadic diary comic by Mark Ellerby. There's a little bit on the back you can read this time.
You can't just thrust the book at me and I'm like, oh yes, I'll read the blurb on the back like I always do. It's like, no. A relationship told in pictures through the autobiographical comics of Mark Ellerby, Ellerbisms catches a glimpse into the life of a young couple, their highs and lows, their sighs and lulls. So
it's a collection of webcomics.
Yeah, collected strips from a cult webcomic.
I'd say daily, but it's not quite daily. He does put the dates on them, and it's a couple of weeks.
It does. And
I think there's a break in it where he stopped doing them for a while and then came back to them. I got this because I saw Mark Ellerby is doing... what's that cartoon called?
Describe it.
That one with the professor and the kid.
Rick and Morty.
Yeah, he's doing comics for that. That's it.
I don't even know how my brain managed to fire so well there.
It's become quite a big name in that comic side of things. And he's got his own web store. You can get this book on page 45 in other places, but currently on his web store it's only £5, which is why I grabbed a copy. So get it direct from him. He gets every single penny. Brilliant. And I thought we'll just give it a shot because I loved the artwork. It was really cute on the front, the actual cover.
Yes.
And you read through it, and it is just a story essentially of his life over this couple of years.
Yeah. Come on.
Him meeting a girl and their relationship.
Yes.
What are you doing?
I'm just waiting for the bit where you go, and then I cried.
Okay. I'm not the only one.
Have other people cried on
Yes.
I was a little bit, oh.
It's a beautiful relationship because it is so normal. In some ways, I feel.
I don't know. There's a couple of parts of it which I found, showed the damage.
Oh yeah, there's definitely
of certain areas. I don't want to say anything.
But it still feels like the other times it is just like a normal relationship. Sometimes they're sat doing nothing. Yeah. They go out together. They have laughs. They have arguments. They get back together, and it is just like a normal, generally a happy relationship for the most part.
Yeah.
And it works. It really works because it is just a page at a time that you're reading. So you can just read a couple of pages. And I think we've taken quite a while to read this, just going back to it.
Yes.
I have anyway.
I was going to say, I think I sat and read it in one.
Yeah, whereas I just went back to it every now and again in between other books because there was no continuing story as such. It was just days of their relationship.
Yeah, you were like poking into someone's life, aren't you, basically? Looking through a window and then coming away again.
And it did make me cry.
Another one.
And it was...
It's your softer side coming out, isn't it?
Well, I don't expect books to make me cry. I really don't.
Really? It's because you invested in the characters and the people, actually.
It was because this was also... And if it is a real life one, this was based on a real life.
Yeah.
And there's something happens in the book that you think, hey, and then... and
well, those two noises need to be bottled.
It's the way it happens. You know what? I can't... Again, I don't want to ruin it.
No, that's it.
But it is the way it happens because you're happy and then... and it just got me.
Stop that.
It just got me.
Yes. Yeah. No, I know what you mean because I finished it.
And it was a lovely finish as well.
Yeah.
But still, yeah. There is boobs and penises throughout the book, which is just hilarious. Because it's just like me. But yeah, no, really enjoyed that book. And for a £5 at the minute direct from him.
Oh, definitely.
Just go and grab it for him.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Right. I'm pausing because this is a hard book to
oh, yes.
We got this again at the festival, direct from Myriad. Becoming Unbecoming by Una. We knew it was going to be a hard read.
Yep.
And boy, was it a hard read.
Yep.
In a good way. It's a content, it's not because it's, badly written or anything. It's a content.
No, it's the... Yes.
Yeah. I'll let you read the front because that's probably the easiest way to give a brief overview of the book, first of all.
It's 1977 and Una is 12. A serial murderer is at large in West Yorkshire and the police are struggling to solve the case, despite spending more than 2 million man-hours hunting the killer and interviewing the man himself no fewer than 9 times. As this national story unfolds around her, Una finds herself on the receiving end of a series of violent acts for which she feels she is to blame. But Becoming Unbecoming explores gender, violence, blame, shame and social responsibility. Through image and text, Una asks what it means to grow up in a society in which male violence goes unpunished and unquestioned. With the benefit of hindsight, Una explores her experience, wonders if anything has really changed, and challenges a global culture that demands that victims of violence pay its cost. I think that kind of shows the weight of this book.
It's sort of 2 stories running parallel that sort of towards the end
intertwining in a weird way.
It's a Yorkshire Ripper, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's quite factual. The bits about that are very factual.
Yes, yeah.
A lot of bits taken out of newspapers and so forth, as well as her point of view running through it about what had gone on. And it certainly taught me a lot about that because it's something we all know about it. But I don't think because we were far too young at that point. I was going to
say, 1977, I was...
We knew about the end of it, essentially.
Yeah, we were born.
Oh, yeah. No, but say because he talked about it, it's one of those cases that comes up quite often on news and stuff, but we didn't know the specifics. And I think we're kind of lucky because what the point that the book goes through about the violence that she goes through herself.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
Although it still goes on today, I think we've come out of a bit of a stage of it in a sense of the way men treat women or not.
I don't know. We had this conversation, didn't we, afterwards?
Hard. So a lot of it, she was treated very badly growing up.
Yes. Well, she was groomed, wasn't she, basically, and abused.
And abused. And as usual, I suppose, back then, a lot of people kept these things quiet, which is shown by the presenters and so forth from TV now. It was only just coming out. It was kept quiet back then. You didn't.
No.
Because you were thought... you were shamed, I suppose, in some way. People felt shamed.
Yeah, that's the whole bit of her early life is all the shame that was lumbered on her.
And then that just stays and it never leaves you because...
Well, everyone thought that there was something wrong with her.
Yeah.
That was the thing.
Because she was
something
down
wrong with her.
and feeling bad. And
that's it. And no one asked her the right questions. So no one was really interested in her as a person.
I'd like to think now in schools that's changed. It probably has, but there probably still is kids. There's still kids that have these problems.
Yeah, I don't think it's as far advanced as you'd like it to be.
Probably not.
Because I think that comes across in this is that I found myself going, agreeing with her and her point of view on the whole thing.
Well, you can't disagree with it.
No, but I was like, it was always like the scales fall from your eyes in some of the areas. You think, no, she's right.
Yeah.
This is still going on. We're still covering for men acting like, they own the world and all the rest of it. And and the woman is still, for what she wears, what she does, it's still that kind of culture. It's, she asked for it. So, it was a very powerful book.
It finishes amazingly well as well. Again, I'm not going to say that, but it is, the end is what really got me. And so I think people will find different points within the book. I had to sit
quiet for a bit after I'd read it.
The end, yeah. It's worth a read.
Definitely worth a read.
It's a bit like Facts of Life in a different style, but it teaches you a lot.
It does, actually.
That, especially as a male, you wouldn't think about, or as a female who's not had to go through these things.
Yeah. Well,
you just wouldn't consider it. And you know it goes on.
Of course you do, yeah.
But if you don't hear it from the people themselves, you're never going to realise how bad...
You can't put yourself in their shoes.
No.
At all.
No.
Because, they've gone through hell.
Yeah. And probably still are, even if they're not physically, it's still going to be there mentally.
Oh, God, yeah. The scars will be forever. Yeah.
So.
And it is... Yeah, it's heartbreaking, the book.
So, yeah, it's a hard read, but it's worth a read.
Yes.
That's the best way. That's the best thing you can say about it.
Yeah. It's definitely one... I think it's there on... It should be on your list of books that should be read. And
it's going to challenge you.
Yeah.
It really is going to challenge your thoughts and perceptions. And
yeah. I think, like you said, with the facts of life, I think it comes into that same heading of things to, like you say, to challenge yourself. Yeah. And your perceived way of thinking.
So go and grab that. Again, link definitely. Will be on the show notes. Right, final review, not of a book, but of an application.
Oh, no.
Yeah. You've not had a chance to look through the Comichaus app, have you?
No.
But I have.
You've been in it. I was wondering, was it yesterday you had your nose in it?
Yeah.
Because I looked over your head, there was some kind of Martian thing attached to someone's face.
The red mask from Mars, I think it is. Vince Hunt from the Awesome Comic podcast. I think that's the name, but I'm going to be reviewing it at some point once I've read it, all of the issues. The Comichaus app. We've been lucky enough to be given a free membership, essentially. So we can read everything. But this is basically Netflix for comics.
Yes. That's a good way of putting it.
That is basically what it is. So on here, this gives the rights to creators, publishers to put up their work on here. And as views go through and as advertising revenue and so forth is paid, every view will give a creator a percentage of that money.
Yep.
Now, as it's small, it may only be pence, but as it gets bigger and bigger, these pounds hopefully will get much better, increase. The cost. This is what. Now, bear in mind, we got it free, but if I didn't get it free, I'd happily pay this. £3 a month.
That's not bad, is it?
£3 a month. Now, the app is on Android or Apple.
Yep.
And you go straight into the library, the comics on here. And I don't want to count them, but there's over 100 at least, if not more, of comics for your £3 a month.
Yeah.
And what does £3 a month? It doesn't even buy you a DC comic or
no,
just about.
No, it doesn't.
No. It doesn't buy you My Little Pony with your free pen on the front.
Damn it. That's what you didn't get me for my birthday.
Sorry. And it's not just small independent publishers on here. No, you got some Judge Dredd on here. Star Trek comics on here. There's some really good stuff. And it's going to allow us to review a lot of smaller publishers' comics.
Yeah.
As opposed to the big publishers as well, just because it's there now, it's accessible.
Yes, we can just grab one and look at it.
So if you like comics in any way, shape or form, just go and sign up.
It's a bit of a no-brainer, isn't it, really?
For £3 a month. If you don't like the ads, there's the odd little ad on there, it's £5 a month. Shock.
Yeah, but if the ad's long, they're not.
No, it's just the odd one pops up occasionally. It's nothing major. £3. In fact, it even says 50% of the revenue generated by subscriptions and advertisement in this app goes back to the creators.
There you go.
So, do it. Seriously, do it. And I'm saying that we've got free, but I don't get paid for doing that. I don't have to say anything about it. But do it. Right, we've got an interview with the guys behind the Clockwork Watch books.
They were lovely.
And Corey Brotherson.
They're lovely.
Now, some of the sound...
They're my favourite people.
Some of the sound isn't brilliant. Mainly because Yoms was at a train station.
And then making his way across London.
Yeah.
Desperately trying to get to a show, which he probably wasn't... we don't know if he made it.
I'm going to assume he didn't. I think he admitted.
Yes.
So, it's not amazing sound. It does cut out now and again. I apologise. But it's worth having a listen to.
They are very funny and very good.
And sort of good content, especially if you're a creator, about sitting behind that desk at a festival or an event as well, on how they drive people, to their side of the stall or whatever. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
Really good. So have a listen. Enjoy. And we'll be back afterwards with our pop culture side of the show.
Mike's Mutterings.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Mike's Mutterings. This episode I'll be looking at yet another subgenre that I've somehow found myself getting into. I do view comics and films in terms of genre, and both my collections are sorted and displayed in a way that basically nobody could fathom. a sort of genre and subgenre Venn diagram guaranteed to annoy any casual browser. And today's episode will be titled Cowboys in Space. Seriously, the genre does exist, although it's normally referred to as space western. It was a definite trend in the 70s and 80s when it came to film and books. The two standout films at the time was Westworld and Outland, but you can clearly see influences in Star Wars and New Hope, especially the cantina scene, which looks like an old saloon, and Han Solo's gunslinging style. In the 80s, I remember the Brave Star cartoon on TV, although only vaguely, and I do fondly remember the anime series Cowboy Bebop in the 90s, with its bounty hunters and American Indian shamans and like. But the only space western influence that I saw in comics back then was probably really limited just to 2000 AD. The story Flesh was basically a story about cattle ranching, only instead of cattle they were time-travelling back to rustle dinosaurs. The Flesh storyline also linked with Judge Dredd, in that a T-Rex cloned from one of the main dinosaurs from Flesh actually appeared in the Cursed Earth series. And likewise, following on from that, there was a stories based in the Cursed Earth about a group of Mega City 1 citizens setting out across the new frontier in their radwagons in search of new territories. This was, of course, Helltrekkers. It was dripping with Western themes, and that was basically a story of frontier pioneers. And it goes without saying that all these 2000 AD stories are worth seeking out. However, the space western subgenre exploded again in the early 2000s with the arrival of the TV show Firefly. I loved Firefly. It hit every geek button for me. My attitude towards Joss Whedon's masterpiece can be perfectly demonstrated by Sheldon in The Big Bang Theory when he tried to enshrine Thursday nights as Firefly Night in the roommates' agreement because, let's face it, it'll run forever. So when that TV executive who made the worst decision of his career cancelled the show, there was at least one film that followed, and then that was it. But at least there's still a sanctuary for the exploits of Mal and his crew in the world of comics. I guess there may be someone out there unfamiliar with Firefly, so here's a quick 101. The story follows a motley crew aboard Serenity, a Firefly-class starship, where they struggle to make a living amongst the fringes of space under the radar of the Alliance government who won the Civil War. The captain, Malcolm Reynolds, fought on the losing side of that war, and the gang of misfits scrape a living by any means necessary, be that robbing mining company wage deliveries to transporting cattle from planet to planet, and smuggling is a big earner too. With vast distances between planets and terraforming pioneers, the whole setting completely mirrors the expansion into the Wild West. The Western genre influences every aspect of Firefly, down to the language and the clothing, yet blending seamlessly with Eastern influences too. Dark Horse Comics took up the license in 2005 to continue the crew's adventures. The first in the Serenity series was Those Left Behind. This story is still one of my favourites, and it fits nicely in between the Firefly series and the movie, and actually fills a lot of the gaps in. These aren't any lazy hack jobs here. The whole series shows a real in-depth knowledge of both the verse, as it's known in Firefly, and the characters. The next one, Better Days, is also set between the series and the film, but you do have to watch your timeline a bit to understand what's going on. Those Left Behind and Better Days was followed by a series of one-shots. These tended to focus on single characters and sometimes filled out backstories. Float Out is dear to my heart, with some great stories about Wash, the pilot of Serenity. Leaves on the Wind wins my art vote with some stunning visuals from George Jonty. Okay, it's obvious that I'm a massive fan of Firefly, or a brown coat as we're known. And yeah, the comic could be just stick figures, and I'd still probably gush about them just because it's got Firefly on the front. But to be honest, it's really for the fans, this series. It wouldn't have the same emotional baggage that you take from the series into it if you'd have just read the comics. I really cannot stress enough how much you need to watch Firefly. And this Serenity series will always be the pinnacle of space western comics for me. But there are still others out there that I do love. The original Alien vs Predator comic was pure cowboys in space. The original comic really is what the film should have been. It's set on the distant colonised planet of Ryushi, and a cattle ranch finds itself in the middle of a predator hunting party that had released alien eggs previously on the planet for their sport. Step forward company admin officer Makiko Noguchi as heroine, who assumes the role of town sheriff. But more recently I found Copperhead from Image Comics. Starting only back in 2014, it follows Sheriff Clara tackling law and order in Copperhead, a futuristic backwater mining town. The story is solid and engaging, and artist and colourist Scott Lewinsky and Ron Riley really shine. The landscapes really stand out as well, and if you love packed panels with flavoursome details, then this is going to be the one for you. I'm only a couple of collected trade paperbacks in, but my sister is now on volume 4, and I've been told that even then it continues to improve. It's a quirky little subgenre, but deserving to hold its own place in my collection. But if you only take one thing from this ramble, then let it be this: watch Firefly. Seriously. Right now.
Let's do this.
Right.
Let's
do this.
We are here with Yomni Ayeni. I checked before that was right.
Yeah, just call me Yoms.
Yoms and Corey Brotherson, creators of the Clockwork Watch. And I'm just going to check, actually, before we continue. Yes, we are recording.
Sorry, I just sent him a little note going, you are recording.
We are recording. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for coming on the show.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
No, thank you. Now, we'll make a note here. Yoms is currently sat at a train station, and there goes a car, or a train, or something.
That's a train.
So,
I'm sitting here at the station, about to go and watch a play called the Barbershop Quartet, which is based around a lot of, the black barber salons in America, where you have kind of singing quartets and stuff like that. It's meant to be one of those.
What I know most about quartets is when they did the scenes in The Simpsons, like the Barbershop Quartet.
Very similar. But then you're getting your head shaved.
Yes.
Our barbers are boring compared to over in America, aren't they? Let's be honest.
That's true. I wouldn't want your one to sing
No,
to you.
No, definitely not. So you guys are behind Clockwork Watch. Tell us a bit about that.
Corey, do you want to go, or should I go?
Oh no, you go first.
Well, Clockwork Watch is an interactive story told through graphic novel, live events, an online newspaper, and eventually, we hope, all things being fine, film.
Okay.
We've been telling this story for 7 years, and it's a multifaceted story. I'm not sure whether you can hear me.
No, we can. We're fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
It's a multifaceted story, set in an era, the Victorian era, but a futurist in a genre called steampunk.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you probably have seen lots of people going around with goggles on their hats and top hats and all kinds of stuff. And we kind of decided to give it a different twist from your average steampunk story. And we based it around an Indian family who's invited over to the UK by Queen Victoria to put a kinetic heart, a power cell, into a new generation of clockwork automatons.
Mm-hmm.
And as the story progresses, one of the automatons has an incident that helps it gain its sentience. And in its own deluded way, he kind of believes that he's one evolutionary leap away from being human. So he wants to be as human as you and I.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately for him, the son of the scientist who actually was instrumental in creating the automatons realizes that his father has a god complex. Yeah. And he sets out to destroy everything his father has ever created. So that's the premise. I also, from time to time, say it's a story of weird science, automatons.
Sorry, you're cutting out there.
Oh, no.
Yep.
Are you there? There we go.
I am here. No, I normally say it's
before the phone.
The Transmedia Story is what it's called. So that is, as you say, it's being told in different forms,
yes.
essentially. I noticed on the website
you have a lot of people adding their own stories. How's that moulded the whole story overall?
Well, what we decided to do was to host immersive live events in between the first series of books that we did. And at these events, you get to meet the characters. They take you deeper into the story. They kind of segue the years in between the books. And then we ask people to write their own experiences, things that they found out within the live event, which will be within the story that's not included in the next book.
Yeah.
So they end up helping to bridge the gap of knowledge in between each one of the books that we've published.
Okay. So what got you into writing in the first place then, Yomi?
Well, I wanted to do something different. I wanted to write a Victorian story that wasn't typical Anglo-Saxon. I wanted to do something that was different. Yeah. And I also wanted to do something that was inclusive across the board. Because when you see a lot of the colonial representations as they manifest themselves in, reenactment or steampunk sort of, be it stories or live events, they've never been the most welcoming. And I decided to turn that on its head. But to do it in a way that encompassed everybody's interests. So weird science, automatons, steampunk, mechanics, and the golden age, and the dress and the styling and all of that, But then to bring a different thing into it, as opposed to what we know about the Victorian age, bringing someone in from India would mean they won't be wearing the dark, glum sort of stuff that everyone wears. They'll be in gold and silver, reds and yellows and all the rest, and bring a nice little vibrancy to the story. So we decided to take that path. Okay.
It feels accurate, to be fair, in some ways. Yeah. The Indian culture coming into the country at those periods. It was... Well, no, yes. I must admit, I really enjoyed it, and I enjoyed reading through it. I'll just let the train go past. It's going. Yeah. It's going.
No, it's stopping. It's stopping.
Oh, no. Is it your one?
Yeah. Like it if you need to.
I decided I'm not getting on the train. I'm not getting on the bus.
I enjoyed the jump between the first book and the second book in the age, and you sort of learn the characters in the first part of the story, and then especially the son, how he changes to this hateful being of the autonomous robots. It was really interesting. Really pulled me in that side.
Can I just say, you haven't seen him? He's still in his chrysalis form.
Okay. That's intriguing.
He's now gradually morphing into the man that his father definitely doesn't want him to be.
Well, the exact opposites, aren't they? I'm not going to give too much of the story, but they are definitely the exact opposites, father and son. It's really interesting. So, Corey, what's your role within the series? Is it more the editor, is that right, in this particular series?
Well,
yeah.
Initially, I started off as basically as an adapting writer, because Yoms' initial entry, I guess, into Clockwork Watch was very much a sense of having a couple screenplays, a trio of screenplays in the end, and obviously kind of reaching a point where it was like, well, that's a lot of money to try and dedicate to creating films at this point, and there is that question of having funding there. So he ended up approaching one of our mutual friends who I used to work with at Sony, called Matt Gibbs, who is now editor and writer at Proper Books, looking for someone that could help to basically adapt these into comic books. And I've been writing my comic books from Magic and Mist to other stuff that I've been hired for across the range. And the idea was really to be able to sit down and adapt these initial scripts into the actual books themselves. So what I ended up doing was adapting. The first one was The Arrival, and then I adapted the second screenplay into what ended up being both Breakaway and Countenance, while editing them at the same time. And then after that point, Yoms wanted to branch out a little bit more, which ended up being TikTok. Wow, very sudden. It was a shock to me too, whoever random person shouting. Yoms wanted to branch out and do something which was a side story, which ended up being TikTok, the TikTok trilogy. And he asked me, seeing I was very familiar with the universe in itself and having kind of basically adapted these screenplays into comic books, if I was happy to edit them and oversee them, which I naturally was. So after becoming an adapting writer, I ended up being the kind of editor for the books that followed after that point.
What do you prefer, the editing or the writing side of it? Which do you enjoy more?
I to be honest, I prefer editing. Well, sorry, I prefer writing on a whole. I love editing in one respect and being hands-on and getting into the material. But I've been writing comic books for the better part of 11 years now. So for me, it's the first stop is always writing. I absolutely adore writing. So absolutely go to that first.
So is there anything from both your pasts that sort of you bring into your creative process? Sort of, is there any TV shows you enjoyed growing up? Any games, anything like that?
Well, I bring a lot of my life into some of the stories because, that's what I know.
Yeah.
There's a certain amount of me, a certain amount of possibly my dad, relationship with my dad and stuff. But with regards to film, I have to lock myself away and try not being influenced. By
that's
things.
good. Yeah.
And I mean, a good indication of how freaked out I am about, cross-pollination and stuff. When I wrote the original screenplay for Clockwork, a character that you get to meet in book 9, which I finished today, which is going to be out in 2019. The main central character, the love interest in the character, was a role that I wrote specifically for an actress called Thandie Newton.
Oh, okay. We like Thandie.
and Tomiton.
Oh.
And this book was written in 2000. This part of Clockwork, the film script and the treatment itself was written, in 2009 or 10 or something close to that. And then last year, just so happens that Thandie Newton was the automaton
in Westworld.
So I'm kind of sitting there freaking out.
She did an amazing job, let's be honest.
I know. So I try as much as possible not to bring too much in.
Okay.
So I kind of feel they would influence what I've written. And I mean, this, we try as much as possible to be as clean, as cleanly kind of clear and cut as we can be with our stories, so that no one could actually point a finger at any of them and say they. I'm here. Am I here? Can I use
can hear you now.
We can hear you.
Love it.
They're not there. Oh, God. Honestly, look, you lot. I think it's Corey throwing a spanner in the works.
Yeah, you did say at the beginning.
Yes, with his magical powers.
Yeah, my voodoo is working.
I know he's always like that with me. But then you should see us at conventions. He threatens me all the time,
really?
And I have to promise. Yeah, I have to promise. I have to promise him. I'm going to basically. We've got this ingoing joke of Terran. And
if you guys have seen the first Guardians of the Galaxy,
of course,
Yondu, goes on his rant as per usual, saying, "I should let the crew eat you, boy." They never tried Terran before. It's got to a point now where we start reciting that at conventions. Walking by, having absolutely no idea and no context for this at all, but suddenly going, "What in the blue blazes is going on? What is he talking about? Why does little guy talking about eating Terran?"
Let's just talk about as well, just quickly, conventions. The concern there is obviously, especially with you, Yoms, you're dressed up in this gear, steampunk gear as well. So now that is really going to blow people's mind, isn't it? Let's be honest.
Yeah, that's it now.
What or why did you start dressing up in a gear like that? I mean, it looks amazing. It really stands out.
Well, I mean, point one, I'm a snappy dress anyway. Hello. No. The part of the reason is it's part of the theme. It's part of the context. You know, you're it's trying to explain to someone what steampunk is hard enough. You know, and when they look at you, they see how you dress, and quite often they understand what it is.
Yeah.
But also, they'll approach you and say, God, you look rather smart, or I love your hat, or your goggles, or things like that. And it underlines, you know, the foundation of the story that we're telling.
Yes.
And that tends to work for a lot of people who want to know more. And it attracts people over as well.
Yes.
You know, which is really, really good. And I mean, you should see us in, like, we do San Diego Comic-Con, and you should see us in tweed in 48 degrees tweed. You know, and Corey always does this little jig of his tweed itching.
Oh yes,
it's torturous. It is one of the most uncomfortable things to wear in that sort of heat, and naturally we do it because it does draw attention and it's all part of the theme.
Yeah.
But wearing tweed, full stop, is already quite difficult, and you know, you're wearing tweed in that sort of heat, in that sort of environment, and you can't help but do a little dance. It's pretty much unavoidable.
Itchy only comes close, doesn't it?
No, I mean, should we do an annual blog post just called Blacks in Tweeds, and just kind of hang out in the midday sun? I mean, it's a bit like, I mean, you've seen the goths on the beach, haven't you? You know, we can say Blacks in Tweed. I'll make sure we do it in the midday sun.
Yes. I want footage of the dance as well.
I mean, actually, Geek and Sundry did actually take a couple of pictures of us at one San Diego Comic Con and put it on their site. So maybe we should have started from that point onward.
Yeah, no, we can do it again.
Yeah,
I mean,
get it done.
Corey just needs to get his +4s together.
Many +4s.
I must admit, we've talked a lot actually about in festivals and anything like that where people just sit behind the desk and they don't engage with the customers, and that's one thing that you guys are amazing at. That engagement and bringing people to the desk is so important. You're just going to walk past people otherwise. It's so important.
It's absolutely vital. I mean, if you sit there, it's death to the table, essentially. If you just sit there quite glum, especially if sales aren't going particularly well, and people then want to basically avoid you, and it's the law of attraction. If you sit standing there smiling, dressed up all nicely, and being kind of quite jovial, then more people will want to come over to you, want to talk to you, and even if they don't buy anything, they'll be interested in talking to you, and at least you'll be able to get some sort of rapport, because they're coming there to have a good time at the end of the day.
No, exactly. And it must admit, our first year of meeting you guys was actually last year, and we remembered you guys. We remembered you guys, you know, and that says a lot, doesn't it? Because then it makes you think the next year, right, we're going to have to pay more attention to this and have a look at it.
I think that's Corey more than anything else.
Talking about eating Terran,
No, actually, on that note, there was a slight funny thing that happened with San Diego. We dressed up. They go very, very different, stood out. Lots of people gave us a side work. They just didn't come anywhere near us.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's fine. Second year, they came round, they looked at us. Some came up and said, we noticed you last year, but we thought you were just here for one show. Now that you've come here again, we're going to invest in your story. We're going to buy books, and they have come back every year.
Okay,
yeah.
You know, and you're talking about 180,000 people every day at this gig.
Yeah.
And they remembered us solely because we stood out.
Yeah.
It's all about having fun at the end of the day, and when you see people enjoying themselves behind the counter, that's going to pull them forward.
Absolutely.
You've done the Lakes Festival for every single year, am I right there?
Yeah, minus one.
Minus one.
We missed one.
What brings you back every year?
It's probably the best gig that we've been at.
We didn't pay him to say that.
No, seriously. I mean, I tried getting. I mean, from the moment Corey came out, he was hooked. From the moment I came out, I was hooked. There is no other convention like the Lakes on the planet. Boom. I should just drop the mic and walk off.
Don't walk off. Not yet, please. Not yet.
I mean, where else do the crew take such good care of you? You know, they've supported us from day one.
Yeah.
They've given us, I mean, we turn up first thing in the morning and we get a cup of tea. You know, not in a plastic cup, but in china. With a saucer. We get fruit juice, they bring us chocolate, they bring us fresh fruit, they bring us cake.
Yeah, that was very surreal. I mean, when Yoms went a couple of years before I did, and he told me about it. He said, "You have to come to this convention one day." And I was like, "It's a bit difficult. Got personal kind of arrangements, really, but I'll try my best." And this year was my second year. But the first time that I came, well, even before that, Yoms was saying, "This is bizarre. It's like they come up to you and they offer you food and drinks, and it's really strange." I was like, I think they've offered too many good things. Because this can't be real. This isn't reality. People don't do that at conventions. And lo and behold, it's my first year last year, and I came in and I was just like, wow, okay, yeah, I see what you mean. This is really quite lovely.
That's good to hear.
I mean, to give you the baseline on this, we don't just come on our own. We bring family.
Yes.
Okay.
It's that good, and family actually. I mean, it's probably one of the only conventions that my lady comes to with me.
Yeah.
And we now get a decent apartment, and you know they the girls go off and do tea and cake. And check out every tea shop and coffee shop and all the rest in Kendal.
That takes a weekend in itself.
I was going to say.
Sorry?
That takes a full weekend in itself.
Yes. Oh, the best part of that is they'll come up, then they'll go away, then they'll come back with a whole pile of books, and then they'll go away, they'll come back with more whole pile of books, and then sometimes they'll come over and say, "Can we have more money?"
They've got it sussed.
It's a pretty sweet deal.
No, that's good. I suppose it's very different though from London, where into the Kendal and Lake District as a whole. It's
just a little
different world. Different world, that's for sure.
Well, we hope next year that we're going to bring a little immersive experience.
I was going to ask you about that. I was going to ask you about that. That'd be interesting.
There's something that we would like to launch there next year. As part of this whole thing. Can't give too much away if it gets done, but I would just ask people to hang around. There'll be a gathering of some description and something will just happen.
Oh.
This past year you had, was it Brian Talbot visit your table as well, was that right?
Yeah.
Which was very random.
Well, Brian, I've known Brian for a few years.
He's turning into a robot.
He's going.
That's it now.
Supportive of our work. And so he was signing Grant. Am I back? Did Corey patch me into this,
you're back now.
chat?
Yeah,
I think it probably is his.
Yes, he did actually. Yeah, Corey did patch you in, so yeah.
Well, no, Brian was doing Granville, so I decided I was going to buy the entire set of Granville.
Yeah,
and get him to sign them. But owing to the fact that we know Brian quite well, page 45 suggested, why doesn't Brian come over to your table to sign them? I thought, that sounds like a very good idea. And Brian said, he'll come over and sign them. So first thing on the Sunday morning, we walk in, and Jonathan, who's one of the managers, I think he's the stage manager or the producer of Ken, came up and said, what's going on? I said, what do you mean? He said, Stephen's just tweeted that Brian is signing at your table.
Brilliant.
And Jonathan saying, look, we don't. I mean, look, we got to manage the crowds here. This could get out of control.
It got out of control quite quickly.
From what?
Somebody coming up to me saying, "So when's Brian coming to your table? What time?" I was like, "I don't know. I just found out."
That's brilliant. But no,
what we actually managed to do, we managed to get Brian in, and getting him and Mary to sit down. No one disturbed them.
Mm-hmm.
And they just sat, and he just signed. And then I asked them whether they'd like to leave their bags and go wandering around to see what they could buy. And so they just kind of used our place as a base and just meandered around to get what they could get. And it worked really, really well. And when they were done, they came back, picked up their bags, and said, "Okay, we're off."
No, it's brilliant.
So it was a very low key sort of signing, but it also meant that they weren't. I mean, they were able to just relax.
Yeah. No, that's good. That's superb. We just heard about it. We didn't get a chance to see him. It was just so funny.
I know. We kind of hit. Well, we were standing guard because they had taken our seats, and we were standing around just making sure that no one came to rugby tackle him.
Corey, just quickly, you're obviously, is it editor for PlayStation UK? What's the actual role you do?
So I'm a content producer for PlayStation.com and PlayStation Blog.
That's right, yeah. So, obviously a bit of a gamer. And you're similar age to us as well. So,
here we go.
Best games growing up. Best games growing up.
Well, I grew up on an Atari 2600.
We'll go past that. We'll go past that bit.
Yeah. So do we.
So yeah, I mean, to be honest, a lot of the games that I grew up on, the games that I really loved was like GTA 3 was fantastic. One of I think Mario World was pretty good on the SNES.
You mentioned Zelda?
Zelda was also good. Final Fantasy 6.
6, not 7.
You're going to 6.
So, yeah, that was my first Final Fantasy game, and it was the first one that was properly westernized as well. And 7 kind of passed me by because it was during a period of time where I was still trying to discover that era of games. I felt like a bit of an old fogey at that point. So.
Just a minute, you're about the same age as us.
I was like, I played Final Fantasy 7.
I've wandered this earth for centuries, my man.
Brilliant.
They based Raspberry all on me, so yeah.
Obviously, Final Fantasy is coming out as well, isn't it? Again on PlayStation number 7. That'll be
the
re-release.
Yeah, finally remastered it.
Yeah.
It's window. It's taking a long time.
Well, that's true.
Yeah, isn't it?
When's the next PlayStation out? Right. So, actually, we're going to ask that question, weren't we? What are you hoping for Christmas?
Yeah.
It's quiet. I think it was just like I've had a very busy year.
Well, I would love I'd love enough of a deposit to get to pay for all of our books to get out there. No, I would like someone to come along and possibly offer us a publishing deal of some description with the option of taking up the film.
Yeah.
And that would mean that Corey and I and our ladies can go and sit on a beach somewhere and drink, I know, Corey's particular flavour of cocktails while we work on a script.
That sounds rather lovely.
That is nice, actually, yeah.
Yeah, we'd like to have our names down on that as well.
Yes, please.
We will have pool parties.
So to help this present along, where can people find your books and get copies of them?
Now, okay, we've got all the books on Comixology for the people who want to get them in digital form, and through our website there's a Comicsy link that will take you to our portal with all the books, but most importantly, physically, to go in and reach and grab. Page 45 have been rock stars. They, I know they're linked to Kendall, but Page 45 were the first shop to ever call up, as in phone up, to say, could you send us some books? In 7 years.
They're amazing, yeah.
He knows his books, doesn't he?
Does.
That's the thing.
Stephen does.
He cares so much about it. That's what matters.
Page 45 are absolute legends, and the guys do made. You can't. I mean, it's our money that we're using to do this stuff. You can't. I mean, you can't forget things. Where someone's actually phoned me.
Oh dear.
He's gone again.
It's his power supply. It runs down every once in a while. I'm really sorry. I should have charged him before I brought him on.
Is he back?
So we page 45, Orbital in London also take us, but strangely enough, those are the only 2 stores in the UK, probably worldwide actually, that take Clockwork Watch. We sell our souls at conventions.
Yeah. No, that's fair enough. So, what convention have you got planned next year,
Corey?
Well, funnily enough, we were just accepted again for our 6th year at San Diego Comic-Con. So that one we're 100% locked down to. Need to find some money at the back of the sofa to pay for the table.
Yes, that's it, isn't it? Yeah.
It's not cheap, is it?
No.
It isn't, but yeah, we've been welcomed back there. They're very, very welcoming. Yeah. So it's fantastic to be back there again next year. I mean, we're aiming to do at least one MCM at some point. More than likely, we'll be in London. Obviously, we're doing the Lakes again.
Now the Lakes. Well, it's not just the Lakes, but we're in a position where I think we're actually going to book our accommodation in the next 2 weeks.
Excellent.
That's good.
Through the year.
No, people are doing it, aren't they? Yes, you got to.
Yeah. Book the accommodation. What else are we doing, Corey? We're doing. We courtesy of the Lakes. We have been invited. I don't know whether it's going to happen, but we've been invited to Haarlem in the Netherlands.
Okay.
Right, there's a convention. There's a convention out there that we've been invited to
lovely.
To go and do, and so we're gradually getting out there. That'll be our 8th year of doing this thing.
Well, from what I've read, it's well worth reading. That's the
definitely.
thing. And I know it's so hard to get stuff. Even though you've got the internet there, it's still so hard just to get anything out there.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Yeah. It's crazy.
And when you look at the process, I mean, so far we've only done one book that's been digital. All the others have been hand-drawn watercolors, and they take a whole year to do.
Oh gosh, yeah.
And it's a major labour of love. So getting into people's hands physically, into people's hands is just an absolute dream. Because the digital thing, it's good, but it's not quite it.
It's not the same. It's not the same
as holding a book. No.
It's not the same.
Brilliant. And Corey, you've got some work out there as well. Where can you find your work other than the Clockwork stuff?
The stuff that I do work on. So I work on a series called Magic and Mist along with my artist friend called Sergio Calvet. So we usually sell that across on magicandmist.com. We've also got a Facebook page as well, which is kind of linked to it. But we're also planning to launch a new side store called Magic and Mist Dusk, which is hopefully going to be coming out by the end of the year. We're trying to keep people posted on that. Fingers crossed we should be able to do that comics knowledge enough. But yeah, that's the main area. Just kind of trying to get a character next year called Deadly Down. Hopefully we'll be able to get that onto various stores, but mainly we're doing that to comic book shops.
Excellent.
Brilliant.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. We'll let you go and get your bus. And we will see you in October, no doubt.
We will.
Yes, and thanks a lot for the support, guys.
No problem.
It's a god. Absolutely, it works wonders for us.
Because, well, we wouldn't do it if we didn't enjoy what we've read. Put it that way.
Yeah.
So,
thank you.
So that says a lot. So thank you very much.
Much appreciated. Cool. Have a great Christmas.
And same to you. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry ho.
Thank you, guys.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
How do? Welcome to Breakdowns, the comic art section of the podcast. I'm Pete Taylor. I'm a small press comics creator and illustrator. Online I trade as This Man, This Pete, and my favourite things I've drawn since last episode are a set of beer shame and beer mats for the Undertow podcast guys, featuring characters from most of the Brubaker and Phillips line of mainly crime comics, Criminal, Incognito, Fatal, The Fade Out, and the latest Kill or Be Killed. Back to the Jack Kirby profile for this episode. If you remember, we'd reached May 1943 in Jack's life. The partnership with Joe Simon had already created the immense success of Captain America, and then they'd been swindled out of their rightful share by Martin Goodman, owner of Timely Publications. Kirby and Simon had then joined National Comics under editor Jack Leibowitz and had another hit by inventing the Kid Gang genre with the Newsboy Legion and Kid Commandos titles. We just left him after he officially changed his name to Jack Kirby and joined the army in 1943. Initially assigned to auto mechanic training, Kirby later transferred to an anti-aircraft battalion before finally joining the 11th Infantry Regiment Company F, which, as part of General George S. Patton's Third Army, became part of the Lorraine campaign in France. Unlike Eisner's, Kirby's wartime experiences were brutal and harrowing. Jack recalled one incident early in the war when his name was recognised by an officer. "Can you draw?" he was asked. "Yeah, I drew Captain America." "And Boy Commandos," the officer replied. "Great," thinks Kirby. "Some officer wants me to do a portrait for him." "Good," says the officer. "I'm making you a scout. Go into these towns and draw what's there. Draw maps and anything interesting, and come back and tell us if you find anything." Kirby was not impressed. If somebody wants to kill you, they make you a scout. So I was a scout. I don't know who wanted to kill me. Maybe someone that I upset somewhere. In an interview in the Jack Kirby Collector, number 27, Jack recalls many incidents from this time, recounting a machine gun battle while scouting a deserted town, discovering and freeing a large group of malnourished prisoners, and being pinned down under heavy enemy fire when his CO told him to go and watch Marlene Dietrich in a USO show. In a throwback to his early years, Kirby told stories of regularly encountering German troops and trading insults. "We called each other names all the time. We were cursing each other in English, German, French, Hebrew. I had quite a large vocabulary by the time I got back. I could cuss somebody out in 4 different languages. We were always calling each other names. We were always cursing each other. It was like what we did in my neighbourhood, only here we had guns and bombs, so it was a very serious business. We had no technology to speak of, nothing that was very reliable. Our radios barely worked, and the telephones were almost as bad. The lines were always getting cut. In many ways, I think that war was the last human war. We were just a bunch of guys with guns. The danger was always very real. There wasn't an unknown enemy figure coming up against you. You could see their faces, and you fought them at very close quarters. It was very personal." Jack's time in combat ended as his unit advanced towards the heavily fortified city of Metz in northeast France. It wasn't the opposing forces that got him in the end, but the tortuous weather conditions. It was the middle of winter and bitterly cold. Kirby recalls, "When you're in the field, there is no place to sleep except in the snow. My whole unit was withdrawn. We were beat up and replacements had to take over. Myself, I had a bad case of frostbite on both feet and lower legs. I was in the hospital for several months for my legs. They were considering amputation. My toes were black, but I eventually recovered. It was a hell of an experience." Private First Class Jack Kirby returned to the United States in January 1945 and was honourably discharged on the 20th of July. He was awarded the Combat Infantry Badge and the European, African, Middle Eastern Theatre Ribbon with 1 bronze battle star. On his return, Jack again teams up with Joe Simon, who had been serving stateside in the US Coast Guard. In fact, in December 1945, they buy homes across the street from each other in Long Island, New York. That same month, Jack and Rosie's first child, Susan, is born. 1946 proves to be a tough year for the Simon and Kirby partnership. They were offered a 50-50 profit-sharing deal by friend and publisher Alfred Harvey and developed their first post-war creations for his Harvey Comics line, Stuntman and Boy Explorers. A glut of paper after the war meant so many new titles were being published that competition on the newsstands was too great for many of the titles. Stuntman and Boy Explorers only lasted 2 issues each before being cancelled. But you couldn't keep Kirby and Simon down. Obviously full of creative drive after their wartime service, they were full of ideas. After dabbling in crime with Headline Comics for Prize Comics and funny animal titles for Hillman, they struck a new vein of comics gold by creating the industry's first true romance book for Crestwood Publishing. Young Romance No. 1 was published in the summer of 1947 and launched a highly successful and copied genre. With the success of this and their crime title, Justice Traps the Guilty, Simon and Kirby assembled a studio of writers and artists to help with their increasing workload. After the publisher agreed to pay them 50% of the profits, Simon reported they both were taking home $1,000 a month. In a sad side note, that same year saw Stan Lee, now editor-and-chief writer at Timely Comics, publish a pamphlet called Secrets of the Comics. Inside, he wrote that publisher Martin Goodman was the driving force behind the creation of Captain America. Simon and Kirby got no mention and no credit. Keep listening, as in the next profile episode we reach 1948, when a certain Dr. Wortham wrote a number of articles that would rock the comics industry and change it forever. Thanks for listening. Please contact me if you have any comments or questions, or if you have ideas for other comic artists to profile. You can find me at thismanthispete on Instagram and Twitter. Email me at thismanthispete@gmail.com or at my website thismanthispete.com.
We're back. Hello. So, like we said last episode, I think.
Look at you trying to remember.
The festival has been and gone for this year.
Yes.
So, we're not going to talk festival stuff now for quite a few episodes.
That's because we're on the Twilight Zone.
Obviously, when there is news, we will bring it up. But
yes.
We want to add a bit more content to the show, so we're going to do a bit more pop culture.
Ooh.
All related to let's be honest, a festival.
It almost sounds like you're going to start a quiz. Have you got your pencils and paper handy?
Come on. So we're just going to talk a little bit about what we've been watching nerd-wise, reading nerd-wise, playing nerd-wise.
Yeah.
So essentially what, let's be honest, you guys are all doing. So, TV-wise,
yes.
Stranger Things 2.
We've watched all of them.
Well,
a bit of time ago.
We've watched, that was what I was going to say. It didn't take us long.
No.
We weren't one of these 24-hour people that watched it.
How do they do that?
Well, I can understand how they do it, but it sort of takes the enjoyment, I feel.
I think my brain would have died halfway through.
You nearly did, but let's not say why. Because people die. People die.
Don't say anything. We can't do any spoilers.
No spoilers.
No spoilers.
So, Stranger Things Season 1, if you've not watched it, go and watch it. Why have you not watched it? Just go and watch it now.
Oh, do you know how hard... I mean, we go to people, don't we? Watch it.
Yeah.
Oh, I might do. No, really. Just watch it. Even my parents. Watch it. And then as soon as they do, they love it.
Yeah.
It's like, just don't wait for me to tell you 20 times to watch it. Just go and watch it.
It left it on a cliffhanger.
Did it? What did it leave on, Ian?
I'm not going to spoil it.
A cliffhanger.
Cliffhanger. Shut up. Season 2 follows on from that, jumping straight into an issue with now I'm rubbish with names, but it's Mikey, isn't it? Who's the poor kid?
Will.
It's Will, isn't it? Who's a poor kid?
Will Byers.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah. I'm rubbish with names.
You know Will, who got kidnapped in the first one. Yeah.
Will isn't feeling too good.
Oh, poor Will. Poor Will.
He.
Poor Joyce.
He's having issues seeing creatures.
Yes. Well, he
from
seems
the upside
to
down.
swip and swap into the upside down, doesn't he? He seems to just switch between the two.
And it's
awful.
The story follows his progression into whatever this thing is.
It was awful. Poor Will.
Season 2 was always going to be a challenge to get right, and they managed to do it.
They did.
I feel. All of the characters that were from the last season that were involved.
Yep.
All improved in some way.
Yes.
In a sense,
they're all growing up. We're seeing them growing up. It's like Harry Potter all over again.
But again, it's so easy. You look at second series and films and stuff, they mess it up because they're not introducing the characters. They've got to develop them, and often they don't.
And also, but they introduced a sprinkling of new ones, which was just enough not to take it away from the old characters, but to give a little bit more fusion.
Something, like the girl for the lads to fight over.
Yes, Max.
Glad you remember names.
What would you do without me?
And Eleven's back, which is not a spoiler. It's fairly obvious she was going to be back in there. She's been all the interviews,
Yeah.
Which if you've not seen the first one, she's basically Supergirl. Yeah, that's how I'm going to call her. She's like an X-Men.
She's Supergirl with a nosebleed.
Yes. And the story just felt just right, I feel. They could even have finished the whole... This
They could have done, actually.
But again, it's going to continue, obviously.
Yeah.
Where it's going to go, we don't know.
I'm not quite sure.
It left a bit of a cliffhanger at the end, but nothing major.
It left an opening, I suppose, a bit of a what if or what's going on.
It's more a case of the Upside Down is still there. That's all you know.
Yeah.
But we don't know anything else whatsoever.
No.
But no, really enjoyed season 2.
It was very good.
They've said 5 or 6 seasons max.
That is pushing it, isn't it? I think you couldn't go any more than that.
They said where the story goes as they're writing it.
So they know the arc. They know the finish point on this.
They know 5 or 6, depending on how they go with it.
Because it could get stale. That's what you don't want it to happen. You don't want to suddenly...
As many shows have. Yeah.
But they keep it down. Was it 9 on that one? Wasn't it?
Is it 9 or 11? I can remember. Is it 9?
No, I think it was 10 on the first, wasn't it? Was it 9 on the second?
So that's good.
Yeah, you don't
British
want
way of doing it.
It should be 6 then. It was a British way of doing it.
Film-wise, the Infinity War trailer.
Oh, we've just seen that, haven't we?
Just watched as of today. It came out yesterday as we're recording. What did you think? Did it get you excited? Did it
stir me juices?
Yeah.
My juices were stirred.
Okay.
I'm intrigued. I hope they don't mess it up by trying to do a big, massive thing on a massive scale, therefore dilute all the characters. I'm a bit worried about that. I didn't like how Thanos looked, but you said that wasn't probably not the finished view. I thought he looked far too CG and planted. But apart from that, I'm intrigued.
I think they can sort of get away with doing the big scenes because they've already, for the majority of the characters, we already know enough about them.
Yeah.
I think that's where other films are
I want
messed
them
up.
to bring them in properly, introduce like Star-Lord and everyone else properly. I want to integrate it because that cast is such a strong cast, as is the Avengers cast.
Yeah.
That I'm just a bit worried about the whole mingling. Are we going to dilute some of the characters? I
still feel they'll probably focus on the main Avengers bunch and maybe the Guardians.
At the end or something.
I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, we will.
Hopefully it works.
Hopefully.
Fingers
if it
crossed.
does, then they've like cracked
a bonus thing. They didn't really ruin any story whatsoever.
No, they didn't really show much at all, did they?
Only Paul Bettany losing his. But you knew that was going to happen.
Yeah.
So they can show that because you knew it was going to happen.
Scarlet Witch.
He showed Spider-Man, which he didn't show in the movie, having his spider sense or some sort of.
Well, his hair stood up on end.
Yeah. So we'll see. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Now, we chose not to go and see Justice League.
Why was that, Ian?
Because I don't want to be disappointed.
And I think we will be.
Some people like it. No one loves it. Some people like it, some people don't. The views are very generally negative, but yeah.
And I think because Wonder Woman was so good.
Yes.
And that I think a come down from that is going to hit harder.
We'll watch it when it goes onto the TV screens,
when we rent it.
Yeah. But instead, we went to see Paddington 2.
Awesome.
We went on your birthday, we went to, and it was sold out. 2 showings.
2 showings were sold out, and it was full for the showing we went to.
In the evening.
Yeah.
I'd like to say it was a surprise. It wasn't because the first one was so good.
Yeah.
It made me laugh.
You did chuckle.
Which is... It takes a lot to make me chuckle.
It does.
But it was cute. It was nice.
You bought into Paddington straight away. He's probably the only CG character you buy into straight away.
It's a film you could show your kids and your gran.
Yeah.
There's nothing.
But you'd still laugh at it and chuckle away through it.
It's lovely.
It is. It's just a gorgeous. And it's got Peter Capaldi on it, so, you know, I'm fine.
He's not really in it. Well, he is, but not much. It's a grumpy old kid. What are you on about?
I know. Yeah, but it's Peter Capaldi.
So, I mean, there's not much you can say about it. It's got a perfect cast. It's entertaining.
Basically, they went through which British actors can we squeeze on a screen.
Hugh Grant is his best role he's ever done, possibly.
He was really good in it.
Oscar for Hugh Grant.
It was very good. It was very entertaining. It was fast-paced.
And the watch the end credits.
Oh yes, stay in the
hilarious
cinema for the end credit. Don't get up and go with your tear in your eye at the end. Don't get up and go.
Didn't have a tear in my eye.
Oh, I did.
Okay, I held
that
it.
ending was.
I held it in.
Did you hold it in?
But that's probably my only negative.
Oh, why?
I felt there could have been just another minute or two at the end.
No, it was the perfect ending.
I'd like to.
What more did you want?
I don't know.
That was just a perfect.
A little tour around London.
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
No.
We're disagreeing.
Yep.
I'm right. She's wrong. So, last thing before we head off into the sunset.
It's already dark.
I know. Game-wise, Animal Crossing. Animal Crossing Pocket Camp on the, again, I think it's Android and Apple.
It's on everything, isn't it? They're getting the money.
So it's a slimmed-down version of the original game.
Yeah.
I'd say it's very slimmed down.
Yeah, I was going to say it's incredibly slimmed
down.
Doesn't
feel it at first.
No, but you are just doing challenges.
Yeah.
Meeting people's quotas.
Yeah, we've spent quite a few hours on it.
We're still spending quite a few hours on it.
It's really sad.
It's very sad. I have a Christmas tree now. Oh, the Christmas tree things are out. Oh, I'm going to get a giant Christmas tree.
So essentially, the game is to create a camp.
Yeah.
By buying select pieces of furniture which bring camp people into your world.
I've given up on that whilst I do my Christmas stuff.
And then you get more money for doing quests for them, which isn't really a quest.
No, you just gather fruit, catch bugs, catch
and
fish.
It's very basic.
Yeah.
But for some reason, like I say, it's very addictive.
They just know how to do it, don't they?
They do. And I know.
We haven't spent any real money, though.
Oh, I never will.
And never will.
It's going to get to a point where I'll say I've had enough, and then they'll bring a new feature in.
Yeah, I know. They've got us.
Yeah.
We've been sucked in.
But go and give it a go, though. It's free.
It's free, yes. And they do give you enough leaf tokens, which is what you need to do something.
Well, you don't need to really need.
No, but if you want to speed things up.
Yeah.
But otherwise, it does give you enough in-game things to keep it going.
I think if you're hooked enough and you get to like level 30, I believe that's when it really starts to grind.
Yeah, well, it's already grinding for me. I'm level 25 now.
Put the money in if you're that bothered.
Yeah. Because you get to a point, I think my camp is a natural. Look at me, I'm so sad. My camp is a natural, and now I'm doing cute stuff because my characters can't go up anymore until I unlock more amenities. Oh, yeah. So this is where it gets a bit grindy because your level doesn't go up very fast then.
No, I'm enjoying it. I don't think... Will I be playing it by the next episode? We'll see.
No.
We'll see.
Maybe. I will be.
So next episode.
Yes.
We've already done the interview for the next episode.
We're so good.
Who is it?
It's the Etherington Brothers.
Say it properly.
The Etherington Brothers!
I feel like that's like, let's get out of the jungle. Yeah, they're amazing.
I don't know what they're on, but I want some of it. I just want them bottled and then just sprayed over me every so often to keep me perky.
Again, there's so much content for comic creators and for comic readers from these two guys.
Very much so.
One question we forgot to ask them, which was why they're not on TV.
Yes, so, why are they not on TV?
Why are they not on TV?
They could be doing like Art Attack.
See, I said the new Tony Hart, but that's not quite the energy.
That's a bit old, isn't it? Showing your age there, darling.
Yeah. So they're out on the 15th of December.
Yep.
It's nearly Christmas.
I know.
And because it's nearly Christmas, you're going to go shopping on Amazon. So before you do...
Yes, I was.
Please click on our link on the website and we'll get a small kickback. Segway.
That was awful.
Thank you.
The cheesy grin.
Yeah, just use a link on our website when you go shopping on Amazon for all your Christmas gifts.
We haven't even had that token yet, have we? Because we actually made it to a... Have you spent it?
Yeah.
Have you spent... I never saw... I didn't see a bean of that. Your guilty face there.
Yeah.
Okay, well, if you could do it so that I could spend the next one, that would be great.
It went on stuff for the show, but yeah. Bugs. So yeah, you have read some of the stuff, so anyway.
Probably.
There you go. And with that, I think we better leave it.
Well, I beat you over the head with
Keep supporting me, please. I need some more money now for them. No, thank you very much for listening.
Thank you.
This will be coming out on 1st of December, so happy start of Christmas.
I was going to say, I'll have to get my jingle bells out.
Sorry? I don't think we need to talk about that, dear. Thank you very much for listening, and we will see you in 15 days' time.
Ho, ho, ho.
Oh, dear.
Thank you for listening. Find out more about the festival at comicartfestival.com. Find out more about the show and how to contact us at comicartpodcast.uk. Find us on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram. Music composed by Pop Noir.
This podcast is part of Britpod Scene, an independent network of uniquely British podcasts that's always growing. Check out BritpodScene.com or Britpod Scene on Twitter to find out more.